Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Ooh. How we doing? Welcome. How we doing? Welcome, everybody, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Drive Time in the morning. It's now your time if you want to get involved. This is a call-in show. You can do that. The number is 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. I haven't even had a sip of coffee yet. Why don't we do that, guys? Here we are, boys and girls. It's the Morton Salt Cup. 150 grams.
Are you salty today?
No, but I'm using the salt to wake me up. Boom! Sleepy J is here, of course. Gabrielle Freedom in the chat. Our producer, thank you so much. I see Entenmann Bill there. Stacy, welcome. Good morning. Up nice and early. It's Houston. It's over there at your time. Snorky, the professor, of course, is here. A Dingo Ate Me Baby. Katie Kane. It's beautiful to see all you lovely, wonderful people early in the morning here hanging out with me, doing it right. Spreading sunshine and love throughout. Our co-host today will be Kyle Anzalone. He hasn't notified me that he's not coming, so I'm assuming that he's coming. Hopefully he'll be in the door soon. He usually gets in a little bit after he takes some care of some daddy responsibilities. And, you know, we'll be just, what's the vig today? Says the Dingo Ate Me Baby. That's interesting. I mean, what is it every day? Well, we got a war in Iran.
Carolyn Leavitt resigned, I guess.
Karen Leavitt did resign. I don't know, though. I got to play this first, though. I have a video for those who made it in nice and early. It's a video of the new president of Colombia. Have you seen this?
No.
And this guy came out of left field. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me that elections are fair. This is actually the new president of Colombia. You ready, Sleepy?
I'm ready.
Look at the shoes. This is new president of Colombia.
What the fuck? I don't get it.
He's got a talent. He's got a talent. You know, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody into that stuff, wants to do that, and I just don't know why it's like such a hidden thing, like of who they are and present themselves to be like.
Well, I'd be hidden too if I was in Latin America. Let's be real here.
You pretend to be like Christian loving man and like straight men and whatever, and they're just not themselves. We're just getting a representation of who they are, like Zelensky, right? Just an actor playing the part of.
Really likes cocaine.
I got news for you. This guy over here might like cocaine. He's from Colombia.
I mean, he looked like he might have been, you know, chasing that white pony.
A lot of cross dressers too, Stace. And do what you want to do. Be who you want to be. Makes you happy. But like you present like this other image, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy. They say this guy's going to be the ultimate puppet, and he was out of the gate praising Israel and, you know, United States, and
yeah, I think that's more of an issue than his shoes.
Yeah. The guy that lost is like a real like hardcore like activist too. Ivan Cepedis. He was the next guy in line that When I say next guy in line, like they had said Gustavo Petro was a stepping stone, a bridge, right? He was enough that, when we were in Colombia, like I said, me and Fiorella, I remember Fiorella was translating for the head of the Communist Party in Bogota, and he was explaining that, Gustavo Petro, the last president of Colombia, at that point, when they were trying to elect him, they looked at him as the compromise candidate. He was the candidate that worked within the establishment enough, right, that had enough working class views and leftist views of sorts. When I say left in Latin America, I mean mostly labor issues, working issues, organizations around labor. I don't mean, American leftist views where it's all culture wars and shit, They're concerned about the resources and labor and how you're going to make money. So that particular candidate, Gustavo Petro, was a stepping stone to this guy, Ivan Cepedis, right, who was really looked at as a serious activist. A lot of people liked him. Friends of mine had seen him in Mexico City when AMLO had brought him out there for speeches, and he'd fill out the room. You know what I'm saying? He was like the activist. Now he's been kind of pushed aside for that guy that you saw going down the runway. So that means less unity amongst other countries in Latin America who are anti-corporation, anti-fascist, and more unification to those in Israel and the United States corporations. So that's what's up for the people of Colombia. The work they've just done over the last 4 years, now flushed down the fucking drain. Hopes and dreams are gone. Buckle in, Colombia. That's all I got to say. Guys, we are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. We probably still might be peeking a little bit in Facebook here and there. When I say peeking, I don't mean like peeking by hitting a peek. I'm saying like peeking through the window, like what's going on over there. People don't watch necessarily over on Facebook, but we're over there for right now. And I see there's different people who go to different chats. Some people go to both. But Entenmann Bill and a Dingo Ate Me Baby over in Rumble, you can go hang with those cool kids. They're the cool kids over there. Kiwi Corner just kind of walked on in. Of course, Gabrielle Freedom, our producer, is over in that chat. She's in the YouTube chats. Fred is in both chats. He always does double duty too as well. So we want to thank you all for joining us, guys. Every week we've been growing the numbers. We've been opening up the phone lines. We've been, we've been taking back the news cycle. And I think that's amazing, right? Over here at least. It's crazy what they're talking about on the news, in the mainstream media. I mean, it's just pure propaganda. Have you ever thrown it on, Josh, in the morning when you're having your coffee and Mountain Dew? If you want to maybe get rid of the fluids that are stuck in your system, and
most of the what I catch is on the radio and stuff here and there, and it's just awful. I'm like, oh my god, it's so much emission. Like that's what I notice the most. It's not necessarily that they're lying. It's a lot of spin and a lot of emission.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's
they normalize,
especially NPR, dude. When I didn't have power for all those days and I had to listen to the radio a lot, like NPR is awful, dude. Like I was like, oh my god, these people are in some weird little bubble. Like it was strange.
And it's weird because when it first started off, it was pretty decent. A lot of conservatives were like, it's national propaganda radio, NPR. They didn't like the pushback. And then it's just like its own, it's been co-opted. Everything decent gets co-opted here in the United States. It's just terrible. I mean, God, man, what's going on over at WBAI is another joke. Holy cow.
Same shit. It's all just different arms of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
It's the public relations arm of what does Frank Zappa say? It's the public relations arm of the military-industrial complex. Is the news?
Who is?
News, Hollywood in general,
news.
Like all of it. Not just news, just it's propagandas and everything.
Yeah.
Especially
so there's 285 dead and nearly 500 missing in Colombia, and this guy's partying and having a great time. Like, that's like a lot of the stuff that's coming. That's why you're seeing a lot of these that are now like little videos just popping up. People are pissed off. Very bad earthquake in Colombia. People missing.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was bad.
Another
one?
7.4. Think we did it?
It's interesting. I mean, you cannot leave out HARP out of the conversation, right? And that's something good for this crew. So we talk about these things. Sometimes I think people kind of just like, they go full blown conspiracy theory. Like everything's a conspiracy theory, and they push those boundaries. I would say that you shouldn't have a conversation without factoring it in, right? It's like when people do talk about global warming or climate change, they never would factor in geoengineering. Like what is that doing to our skies, our heating of our planet, and all that stuff? And it was annoying because we knew it was out there, and it was right in front of our faces. And like if you don't look into that stuff and you just assume those are contrails, condensation, but why are they staying so long and like spreading out? And why are they doing tic-tac-toe in the sky? I thought pilots were just bored and playing tic-tac-toe. You got to factor that in. You have to factor HARP into this earthquake in Colombia. Does that mean it is HARP? I'm not going to say it is. I don't know, but I do know the technology exists. And then all of a sudden, all these NGOs come pouring in. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know if they're slowly planting themselves for the next time. Maybe in Colombia, they fear that the left wing will try to get back into power. They got everything set in place. I don't know. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about Venezuela right now. And the earthquake seemed to benefit a lot of the NGOs that want to get into Venezuela. I don't know. It has to be factored in, HARP, but I don't know if we can necessarily. Snorky can give us more information on that if it was what he thinks this Colombia earthquake was. Snorky professor, if you want to come in, tell the class. I was hoping the other professor, Kevin, would be here today. He got kind of cut off on WBAI. He had a bad weak signal. He was trying to make a point, and it sucks. We tried to put the WBAI up on the Rumble yesterday, and the YouTube's just not successful technical-wise. The sound of the radio through the StreamYard with a Zoom just didn't work. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of have it up, but it didn't come through. If you want to listen to the Wednesday show, because you can't watch it anywhere, you can go over to WBAI.org and listen live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's a New York audience, so it's a little bit different than what we got. We've been building kind of like our own audience here. We're Florida.
They also have an archive too that has your past episodes.
Yes. You can go back at the archive, listen to old shows. Some of them are good. The audio was terrible. Yeah, Katie, thank you for trying at least. I know a couple people try. He says it could be worse than HARP. Let's see if there's one in Chile or Ecuador soon. So if it's one in Chile or Ecuador soon, I'm assuming you're saying it's like the plates moving around, Snorky. But a pole shift is what Stacy's saying. They're all kind of connected.
Or they're just targeting, the ones that are about to have elections.
Or just had elections and want to solidify them.
Right.
There are a lot of accusations against that president in Colombia. And the way the rhetoric was going, I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have tried to pull another re-election to get it out there, because they were proving that there's a lot of fugaziness in that election over there. So I haven't been able to dive too much into the data itself. I should have been there. We should have been there in Colombia for sure. Colombia is interesting though, because it has a lot of transparency, but there are ways to sneak an election. And the areas where both in Peru and Colombia that the United States Western Israeli candidates won was through the abroad voting. Like it was really close. I think Ivan Cepeda had a slight tiny lead. Then they did the abroad counting, and all of a sudden, that other La Tigre guy, they call him Tiger or whatever his name is, he is the president with the out-of-country voting, the abroad voting. Same thing with Peru. Keiko Fujimori, I can't believe she's the president. It's crazy. But it was the voting that it was abroad. A lot of people claim that Marco Rubio had something to do with it. I don't know how. We'll see. Guys, let's give us a call, 561-247-2721. There's a lot of things to discuss. Donald Trump says we control the Strait of Hormuz. Did you know that? Uh, RT did this report. I don't know how much validity there is to this, but let's take a look at this. So, and I believe this. It says U.S. sailors. Let me go to this. U.S. sailors try to jump overboard as hungry all time in government experiment to see how far they can push us.
I've seen this a couple places, not just RT, by the way. So it's definitely been picked up elsewhere.
It was talking to some random dude at the smoke pit, and he was saying it's an experiment the government is doing to see how far they can push sailors. Come on. Get out of here.
That picture is from April, though. That's not.
It is, but they've had this problem. They ran out of coffee on one vessel. Listen.
Well, you've got mothers reporting their kids are coming back 30 pounds fucking lighter, and these weren't fat people; these were like ripped out dudes.
Yeah.
So.
And now they're just starving them. They can't even get
their tours are too long too.
These motherfuckers. Jesus, watch. Let's.
I don't know if it's true. If it's true, that's not a great sign. That's for sure.
No, man.
Aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln have tried to jump overboard amid poor conditions and mental stress on the ship. This is according to new reporting from the Military Times, which spoke to the wife of one of those sailors, who says she's spoken to her husband only a handful of times since he tried to jump. He is now on a medical hold. The Military Times is also reporting severe food shortages on board and that sailors are running out of just basic needs: toothpaste, deodorant, soap. This crew has been at sea for 9 months amid Trump's war in Iran. That includes 250 consecutive days without setting foot on land. 250 consecutive days. That is a record. Out front now, Natalie Olivero. She is the Military Times journalist who broke the story, and she is also a Navy veteran. Natalie, I appreciate your time. I mean, the details you have in this story are really stunning. I mean, my jaw drops. You know, we're talking about the USS Abraham Lincoln, and you're talking about things that I think people struggle to understand are happening in the U.S. military. You've spoken.
I removed it. I forgot that we'll get spanked for that. Hopefully the videos, the pictures they put up front above that. But pretty much that set the table, right? We had talked, I think Colonel Kwiatkowski had talked about the fact that one of the boats was out of coffee. I was the coffee petty officer, or whatever they called it, the coffee, whatever. They let me, like, we had to commiserate or congregate or whatever you want to call it at one spot and then go march over to this other spot. You know, we all met all the class people, and then we marched over to we didn't march over, we walked on over to the facilities and then went to class. I didn't have to go to that little meetup where everybody went. I had to go to the classroom and start the coffee, big giant container of coffee. So, yeah, I mean, sailors need their coffee.
They need food too.
Huh?
I said they need food too, man. Trying to keep up that bulk is a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, we know for a fact that those aircraft carriers, and the thing is, they can't even get into the Strait of Hormuz. They can't go passing through. They got to stay out of distance because Iranian missiles and drones, if they get too close, will hit them. And then Donald Trump is literally out there saying, we control the Strait of Hormuz. Our Navy is fascinating. It's awesome. Dude, you had these motherfuckers out to sea for 250 days without setting foot on land.
They're going to start going crazy out there. There's a reason tours are like in the Navy are only like 6 months before you get some leave and get to go touch grass again.
And you ain't out there. Pasta was a seaman, confirmed. Thank you, Greg. Yes, I was a seaman. And guys, call on in 561-247-2721. We're waiting for Kyle Anzalone. He should be here shortly. Good coffee this morning. I'm sorry to the sailors of the USS Abraham Lincoln that haven't gotten out.
Well,
shut up, me, baby.
I think it's Larry Johnson. He's getting letters and emails and pictures from like mothers of sailors and stuff, and you've got them same deal on the Tripoli. It's not just one ship. So I don't know. It sounds like they're having some logistics issues down there.
that video of the Colombian president dancing and partying while there's like people trapped under the rubble just says it all. You know, and that's the thing too, is all the work down in Latin America. So they say the saying "Yankee go home." I heard people heard and said they heard Muhammad Morandi say this. He said this on my show before. He said this on other show. He's explained when they say Yankee go home down in Latin America, they're not saying white man get the hell out of my country. It's not like that. They're saying American empire get out of our country. You know what I'm saying, in fact, that's why they bring a lot of us down there too as well, so we can listen to the people, see their culture, see their ways, humanize them, because once again, they'll be treated like awful, terribleness, to be used as an excuse to go in and intervene.
I'm not going to repeat what Dingo said, but it made me laugh.
It made me laugh too. Dingo makes everybody laugh. He's a real jokester, that Dingo guy. What is there else to talk about? So we have Carolyn Levitt, right? Oh, man. Bryan Cranston. Why don't we share one of his shit? Super lib.
Ugh.
I know, right? Whatever. I don't feel like searching for this stupid idiot.
I never can tell. It's the one I get confused with the other one.
Pam Bondi and Carolyn Levitt. Right. I just got them confused myself. I said the Dow.
All right, we got
Pam Bondi. Sorry, Caroline Levitt will be permanently leaving her position at the White House as the press secretary within weeks. He says, "Thank God." But what do you mean, thank God? What are you going to get in replace? Bryan Cranston and Karine Jean-Pierre, or whatever her name was so friggin' awful.
You ready for a call?
Yes. Let me remove this as I have somebody dancing on my Twitter feed. Caller, who is this and where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Macy.
Who?
And I'm from Tennessee. Macy.
Nicey?
Macy.
Got it. Macy from Tennessee. Sorry about that. Good morning.
Yeah. Morning.
What you got for us?
I was wondering, have you noticed with the far left has been kind of been arbitrated by conservatives and Democratic parties? I've noticed with some pundits like Jimmy Dore and Katie Helper, they all we noticed that a lot of their messaging isn't like it's not authentic. They're getting a lot of their messaging is from either the Democrats or Republicans, and I noticed that they slide it in every once in a while. Even with Jimmy Dore just yesterday praising Viva Fry as being a friend. I mean, we all know who Viva Fry is. I mean, we know a lot of these people that they try to prop up, and they're not very good people. And this is coming from the far left.
Who is?
So I was wondering. Do what?
Who was he praising as a friend? I'm just so I understand.
Just yesterday, he was talking about Viva Fry coming on his show yesterday and him being his best friend, or him being a good friend. And I'm like, how can you call Viva Fry a friend? He's not even in the same atmosphere. It's like these people are not friends.
Yeah.
Like they always try to prop these people up that aren't part of the third party and try to make them out to be like they're something special, and we know that they're not. And that's what Jimmy Dore and all these other people have been doing lately, and I just don't understand. And it's coming around the time of election season, and I'm starting to see where the far left is starting to be arbitrated by, the conservatives and the Democrats.
Who is?
And I was just wondering if you were worried about that, or if you've noticed that. because I noticed it. I mean, me just being a normal person, I noticed that. So I don't know, him selling gold all the time. He's supposed to be, he claims to be independent. He's not independent if he's getting sponsorship by these other, I'm just calling this out because nobody else does, and here I'm far left and I'm seeing this stuff. So I was just wondering if you see it for yourself as well, being, friends with all these people. So
can I ask Macy, just so I know, who's Katie Halper doing that with? I'm curious because Katie Halper's show is on.
She's
before
been
my
pumping
show.
up Matt Mondami, and Mondami is not a voice for the far left, even though he claims to be, a person that's going to revolutionize. I believe he's just, in the same camp as all these other Democratic socialist, so-called socialist leaders that just, say a bunch of words and don't get any action done. And that's their job.
Yeah. So, but so it's a little bit different as far as so Katie Halper is doing what Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske and all those kind of
exactly.
When
so is Jimmy Dore in some way, and so is a lot of these other people that are getting paid sponsors with either, I don't know if it's come from Rumble or I'm not trying to target pinpoint one person, but I acknowledge these things, and I'm sure other people do too. I'm not the only one. So
yeah, well,
I'm just calling it out.
Yeah, I think you definitely see too, Macy, probably with the drop in numbers, like that other people do see it, right? Other people are like, that doesn't seem genuine. That seems like you're fishing for numbers.
I mean, whenever you're saying that you're independent and here you're saying that Viva Fry's your best friend, he's not independent. He was propping up Israel, was he not too long ago? He was
being a Zionist.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was being a Zionist.
So it's just like, how is he your friend whenever he's the one propping up a genocide in Palestine? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, well, it makes you wonder who your friends are and who you really need to listen to. So, and this is where I can't even genuinely to Jimmy Dore anymore because, he props up all these, including Candace Owens. Like, Candace Owens is conservative. We don't like Candace Owens. So why are you trying to make her out to be like she's something? I guess she's doing the Charlie Kirk thing, but she's doing it for notoriety. She ain't doing it authentically to do justice for Tyler Robinson. She don't even bring up Tyler Robinson half the time. And, I doubt she even goes to those court cases. So, it's just like, it's all a bunch of crap.
So, Macy, do you ever listen to the show on a Monday? This show on a Monday, right? Have you heard it before or first time?
I tune in when I see you on, but it's just random days.
Because I do kind of want to push the envelope and talk to people who think differently than me, right? So on Mondays I have this guy Alex Strenger, who is a Zionist, but we spend most of the time pushing back against each other right there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there's something that's okay when you want to talk to somebody differently. Like, I'd like to talk to Viva, and I'd like to question him on a lot of his positions. I'd like to talk to Candace.
Yeah, but to sit there and call you his friend on that, on television, it's kind of inauthentic. It's like, okay, so if that's your friend, and so what does that say about you? And that your audience is seeing that.
It's like Bernie calling everyone his good friend. It's the Bernie, everyone's my friend, that's what it reminds me of.
Like, excuse me.
You see what I'm talking about? And this is coming from Jimmy Dore, that's supposed to be far left of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
So,
No, I hear you. I mean, and I can't.
I'm just saying.
Speak for him. He's an he's my ex-employer. I was his employee.
Yeah. And I hate to call him out on your show because you work for him, but it's just like, I'm just trying to get these things out here because, somebody else will. It's not, it's just going to keep on going. And it's not going to be called out for what it is. and I see everything for what it is, and that's, I guess, a problem for me.
Well,
I don't know.
I think
But
that
anyway, it's good talking to you, and I don't want to take up more of your time. I was just trying to get that out there. Just to make sure that you know who your friends are, and to know where they're, what they're saying. I hear things all the time. I grew up with messaging being, completely wrong all my life, and I had to learn, throughout the years that what these people are telling me is completely wrong. And now I just use it on everything. I mean, including the people that, is supposed to be fighting for you. I still can see where they're going, where their flaws and where they're benefiting me in some capacity, So,
yeah.
I appreciate what you do, Craig Pasta, and you're the one of the few that I stick to, that I can't really find a real negative, like I've been calling out Jimmy Dore and all these other people, but you're one of the few that stick to, a path that's good, that is authentic. And here I'm calling your show right now, so that's something for me anyway,
Well,
Anyway,
I appreciate the call,
good
by the
talking
way.
to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Macy.
you too.
Definitely, and we're going to talk a little bit about your
Bye-bye.
statement when you hang up. So still listen. Put the internet on when you hang on up, Macy. Thanks for calling in. Good morning. Get yourself some good coffee out there. It's early.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Pasta.
Kyle Anzalone is here. Good morning, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good week so far.
Really?
I mean, not the news cycle or anything for that. Just, me personally. I'm reading books with my daughter. I bought a new truck. Things are going well over here. So
yes.
I could be joining you this week.
Well, I got to tell you, my friend's daughter said that the bolognese I made last was one of the best bolognese. And to tell you the truth, it wasn't like a zesty, spicy bolognese. I used chicken sausage, ground turkey, and beef. And I would always talk about this when I make a bolognese. You got to use what you got. I don't have bolognese is probably the pasta sauce I make best. And I don't think there's two bologneses that are exactly alike. It's always different. What I got in the kitchen, what I got in the garden. Sometimes I don't have paste. This last bolognese, I didn't have a can of paste. I was like, I don't have a can of tomato paste to make the color more, red. But it came out really good. And the fact that it wasn't spicy, and I cooked it for 5 hours, slow and low. Like I went to sleep, woke up, turned it, stirred it, went back to sleep, woke up, stirred that son of a beeswax, and I had some rosemary and thyme on top. So I think it was the method in which I cooked it, and that bolognese came out unbelievable.
Ready for a call?
I am ready for a call, but really quickly, let me address the last caller. We'll talk about this too as well. I won't capitulate on my values, right? And if I lose employment with somebody, or I can't get a chance to further myself on the radio because I'm not going to spit along with the narrative or go fishing for numbers, then so fucking be it. And I'm glad that Macy recognized that. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, my employers, my ex-employers, whatnot. They can ride their own path. They got to do their own thing. It is a business. I know Kyle can explain that to you too as well. It is tough to make it in this business. And usually the tribal cultish behavior is what gives you clicks. But there's something to it. And the reason why I invited Kyle to be on this show with me on Thursdays is because I like people who are principled, who are going to tell you what is right and what's wrong based upon what they see as the truth, not what's going to get them more clicks. And that's all I can do and say and speak for myself. Caller.
And the vowel at the end of the name doesn't hurt.
Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Greg Walker. Trigger warning. You said people that are principled. Clint Russell.
Oh.
Not messing with you. Man, you know what it was for me with pundits and shit like that? Because the last caller kind of sparked something in me. Was people that were like, oh my God, the Democrats, they rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders so Hillary could and then they're like, I'm going to the Green Party. And I'm like, you realize the Green Party rigs their fucking primaries with whoever that fucking dipshit was. They tried running
Howie Hawkins.
Hawkins.
Howie Hawkins. Yeah.
He
So
does
I mean,
have-
I see it. You know, I brought up uncomfortable points about this shit and got ban hammers and chats and things like that.
Yeah.
People rather not hear those decent comfortable truths, I guess. But no, go ahead.
What do you do, though? Where do you go? That's the question I think a lot of people are trying to deal with. I think they feel that they have to kind of participate somewhere to cast that vote every 2-3 years, whatever it is, every 2 to 4 years, Greg. So, I mean, people have this mentality, even though they're stuck in a team sports mentality, but they're also stuck in the fact that they have two choices and they got to make one of them, right? And then when you say, well, look at that third party, and you go, oh, it's the Green Party, it's the Libertarian Party. Well, they got their own bullshit too. There's a reason why those parties have been around for a long time, and Kyle could speak from experience. And he's a libertarian that works outside of the party. I mean, there's a party for his ideology, yet he works outside of that. Why? There's reasons, you know? So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a quagmire for people to find out. But if you're not mitigating damage, right? Like, so for me, I voted for Case Oliver, Libertarian Party. I literally, in my mind, I tell people to stop playing the lesser of two evils game. And I don't want to necessarily say that Chase is the lesser of two evils, but there's a lot of things that I'm not crazy about when it comes to his ideology in the Libertarian Party. But I mean, it is a quagmire about what to do. And when you look at it on paper, you can at least say the Green Party is much better than the Republicans or the Democrats. Can you not, Greg?
Can you?
Well,
They're talking about the Green New Deal. We all like it's a climate scam.
Yeah.
right, but the whole trend of, you know, Republicans voting Libertarian or Democrats voting to the Greens isn't necessarily about liking the Green Party or thinking it's better than the Democratic Party, right? Like, if, you know, you cheat on your girl and then she goes and sleeps with some other guy, she's not necessarily picking a guy who's not going to cheat on her. She's doing it to punish you. That's why people are voting for the Greens, right? Is to punish the Democrats. It's just what they think is going to give the biggest FU to the whole thing.
That's a protest vote.
Yeah.
Out of spite.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people look at it like a hall pass.
You don't always make good decisions out of spite, but you know, you do what you need to do.
I use the hall pass in the analogy that Kyle Anzalone gave. Kyle gives some great Anzalone. They should be called Anzalones when you give a great little speeches there. You know who else does those? Garland Nixon does those things too. Does those little analogies to really make you grasp the story. So what is your advice then, Greg? All right, don't go vote Green. Then what do you do? Don't vote at all, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
don't
I'm an
participate
anarchist.
into a system that's rigged anyways. I mean, you know.
I'm an anarchist and my wife's a felon, so makes
You
it
came
easy.
from the left, though, right? You came from the Democratic Party, or no? Or
Oh yeah, but you know, I had a misconception of what the left was. You know, I thought voting for Obama made me a radical communist.
I love that.
You're a Marxist, but dude, I heard somebody at an event called Joe Biden a Bolshevik. I was like, "You fucking kidding me? Shut the." Somebody throw something at Mindy Robinson. She think you work on the Vegas
He's
killing.
pretty hardcore capitalist.
What's that?
But Biden's pretty hardcore capitalist compared to Trump. The fucking CARES Act.
So
I don't know.
point.
Have you seen all them shady trades every time he tweets? So, you know, is that really true? I think they're all corrupt.
Oh yeah,
shit.
but then there's a lot of inside trading there too.
So it's a clusterfuck all around.
Greg, you're on the road. You're driving. How many flock cameras are you seeing out there?
I see him in the middle of nowhere.
You got to take pictures, man. You got to send it in, man.
All right. When I see a solar panel and shit on a fucking pole, I'll out in the middle of the desert, I'll send you a picture. I'm barely starting my day today, though. So.
Are you headed out to Vegas today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see those. I want to see those out in the middle of the desert where well, I mean, there's a reason why I think they'd have them, right? I mean, the law enforcement is going to say, well, you know, when people are trying to escape LA or trying to escape Vegas or whatever the case may be, like, we got to catch them. We got to figure out where they're going. It's going to be interesting.
Pretty sure that was a crime before they had flock cameras, but okay.
Well, this is like pre-crime shit, right? When you have a flock camera and everywhere, this is like pre-crime shit. This is the dystopian world we were talking against. This is it.
It's also guilty till proven innocent now because the computer's dead.
Yes. And they've been making these mistakes. There was a guy that was pulled over, put in handcuffs, and the flock camera read the license plate wrong. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is how police officers were stalking women on these things.
Dude, there was a woman that got drug out of her car twice in a day from the flock shit. It wasn't even her. Twice in a day. Like, it's just a bad idea.
She's gonna get too hurt, and then she gets a nice little check.
I hope so.
You know, nice little check. Greg, what else you got for us, buddy?
I'm glad to see the flock team doesn't have too many people food looking for it.
Yeah.
Because you know, the back to blue people and stuff. Sometimes it's like, yeah, you say that until it's your daughter getting pepper sprayed and dragged out of a car and the cops copping and shit like that. So I mean, I'm glad people are.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see people across the political spectrum uniting on that, at least. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, the left against it, I like it. You know what I'm saying? If it's because they are fearful that it's going to be, you know, used to hunt down immigrants, that's pretty. You know, if that's the reason they're pushing out against it, do you think that's what it is? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'm guessing some of the people whose heart's in the right place on the left, but they're just like, this is going to be used to target minorities and immigrants.
Yeah.
And it's like, what about the minorities that vote the wrong way? Fuck them. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they get what they deserve. Get them. It depends on who's getting arrested. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's the thing. The thing that was shown with the whole ICE raids and the whole letting them piss and shit all over the Constitution, there were a lot of like pro-Trump Latinos. I think it was in Florida, one of the leaders of the Cubans for Trump movement was deported. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of Latin Americans, Latinos here in the U.S., that is, realize that, you know, they're not safe at all. No, the ICE is going to go after you because you got brown skin, plain and simple. I mean, they're literally racially profiling people and like, let's arrest them and we'll deal with it later. And they've been doing that left and right because they want to get their numbers up, you know, because they've been told we have
Aren't there a lot of ICE? Weren't there a lot of the people they recruited into ICE fucking Latino?
Yeah.
That's just something I heard. I never dug into it.
No, I mean, in LA where you're at, there was a big standoff where this girl was yelling at this dude, and you know, he was a Latino dude, and they were yelling back and forth at each other, speaking a little Spanish and whatnot. And they're like, "What type of, you know?" But you probably know there's a big part of the Latino community in the U.S. in LA. There's a big part that will stand up for their brothers and sisters in the immigrant community, and there's a big part that will be like, deport them, like in the Latino community. Like, it's crazy. You know, Fiorella taught me about that shit too, a long time ago, when she says, yeah, it's like, you know, I got a lot of family members that are like, you know, they're conservative, they're hardcore right-wing anti-immigrant, like, you know, I'm here legally.
Some people will do anything to survive, even crawl in the ground like a worm.
It sucks. What are you gonna do?
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Greg, we love you, brother. Take some pictures of
love you too, man.
Thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening. Are you're headed that way?
I've seen it now. I did regular in-state shit yesterday, so today I'm going to Vegas. But
what road are you on right now?
Since
are you on the 15?
Right now, I'm on the 91, but I think it's turning to the 215.
Okay.
So I'm still on my way to my yard and all that. Yeah.
Okay. I know that area. I know that area well, man. I know that area well.
Oh yeah, the IE.
I know the
It's a nice
Inland
area.
Empire.
If you like your women white and
I have
trash.
Rialto is my first when I moved out to
Oh,
LA.
okay.
I know
I know.
people in
Yeah.
Rialto.
Yeah. It's
All right, brother.
if you played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, it's the the Breaking Bad section of that, or whatever Grand Theft Auto that was. The Trevor area.
I didn't play no Grand Theft Auto in a long time, brother. In a long time. Greg,
Yeah,
I love you. I'm
haven't
going to
either.
let you
I gotta
go
fucking
and see if
remember
there's
which
another
one.
caller waiting, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Love you guys. Have
All
a
right.
good morning.
You too. Take some pictures of some flock here and send it on in. We got a good crowd brewing up on the YouTube over there. Got 34 strong. Entenmann Bill is holding it down over there. We got 15. So, yeah. Anyways, come on. Let's give us a call. Let's talk. Kyle, first initial thoughts on your favorite press secretary throwing in the calling it quits. Caroline Leavitt, I know you're sad. She will be leaving you and leaving the White House soon. Any thoughts on that?
Not really. I mean, with when you had Joe Biden as president, Jen Psaki or Karine, whatever her name is, were actually kind of important, and I would care to like tune into the press conferences. But Donald Trump, you just look at his True Social feed. That's kind of what you need. So I don't feel like she's particularly relevant. She puts the White House spin on things. She denies things that are clearly true, but there's just now a whole the same need to pay attention to her as there are other press secretaries under other presidents.
That's crazy because I thought Karine Jean-Pierre, whatever her name, Claude Van Damme, was like the worst press secretary of all time. She was so bad. I mean, she was just awful, I thought. Like,
I mean, they're all paid to lie, so.
That is
Yeah,
true.
she was bad at it. Like, they're supposed to convey information to the press so that, you could write stories and have the White House position in there. And she was really bad at communicating that. So, yeah, she was bad. But at the same time, you would still watch her press conferences because you might not see Biden for an extended period of time. You weren't getting a lot of statements from the White House. And so those press conferences with her and Ned Price and Little Patel and those guys were all real important because you didn't have other information to go on, where Rubio, Hegseth, Trump, like there's there's endless stream of statements coming from this White House.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Donald Trump, but they're ridiculous. You don't know, you can't even believe them. It's kind of becoming like white noise. I mean, you heard this guy the other day. He was claiming, Kyle, that the United States military, the Navy, had control of the Strait of Hormuz.
It's 100% open.
It's 100%. Yeah, I mean, and you
We
look at
might
the
just
graph.
keep it.
Oh, the other day said it's sort of open.
Kyle, I'm going to recommend a good book to you. It's called The Art of the Deal. Look at the young Trump there, by the way. Look how handsome.
Oh, man.
In what world do you live in?
Insane. This past weekend on Sunday, only 6 vessels entered or exited the Strait of Hormuz. And I think 4 of those used the Iranian shipping lanes. So just 2 ships went through the, American secured, and I use that in pretty loose quotes, side of the Strait of Hormuz in a day. And Donald Trump on that same day is claiming it's 100% open.
We control it. And he says things are going great. Things are going beautiful. I mean, like I said, this has to be the most embarrassing presidency of all times at this point now. This is just embarrassing. Like you mentioned, Joe Biden knew when to shut his mouth or couldn't speak for a couple of days, and that's great. That's why you had to pay attention to the press secretary, because you didn't know when you're going to see Biden. I like that better than what this guy's doing. Every day he opens up his mouth, I really want to throw something at the TV screen now when I see him. That's how bad it's become. You know, I mean,
Well,
it's
from
beyond at this point.
From the perspective of the average American, though, he still seems more competent than Joe Biden. I understand that we know everything he says is utter bullshit, but the fact that he's out there every day past 4 p.m., able to go back and forth with the press, and while not truthful in any way, he still is, able to form the same sentences
But who's that really working
that Trump
for
has
now,
been able
Kyle?
to form for decades.
But who's that working for Kyle right now? He's getting booed everywhere he goes. So I think the people are
a
catching
decreasing number of people. I think there is going to be a reckoning sometime this fall when it comes to Iran of, for a certain segment of the population who watch Fox News, we're just one missile barrage away from winning this war, right? Jack Keane has been on there laying out the targets. We're going to bomb here and here and here and here, and the Iranian government is going to collapse, and then we're going to take this and that and the other thing, and Iran is going to pay us war, right? Like, there still is a certain segment of the population that believe that, and they do really believe it. They're trying to convince people that that's true. Now, it's going to be like COVID, where it became increasingly obvious, right? Like the masking, the social distancing, the vaccines all didn't work. Me and you, Pasta, we weren't masking or taking the vaccine from the beginning. A lot of people were. But, people slowly woke up, and then once it's all out there in your face, you can't deny it anymore. So I think we're going to get to that point with the Iran war in just a few months here.
I can't remember the group that Jack Keane takes money from. Is it called the MEK, I believe? He's heavily funded by the MEK, I believe, which is an anti-Iranian
cult.
Yeah, I mean, they're like pro Shaw to the nines, the MEK. And the MEK fund him. It's just like Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon got funded by Miles Guo, an anti-China oligarch that didn't like the government there. These people are being paid to say this stuff, and they're highlighted on TV. And nobody ever points out, well, hey, man, you do get funded by Miles Guo, and Miles Guo is really anti-CCP. Could that be any reason why you speak so, angrily against the Chinese government, that the Chinese government is responsible for everything because some dude is paying you? Same thing with Jack Keane. He gets paid by the MEK. I know Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone highlighted this shit one time, but I mean, like, he literally gets paid by the MEK to go on TV and tell these lies. And, the TV is just looking, the mainstream media. That's what we're doing now. Anytime we say the news or media, Kyle, you got to make sure you say it like that. Very condescending, very nasty. We want these people to hear us because they are a bunch of assholes. But I mean, they're literally just putting these people on who are heavily funded to speak out against them. Oh, yeah, my God, Dave.
And I know there's some people who, will say that, hey, they get the money because they had that position to begin with, right? Like the MEK started funding Jack Keane because Jack Keane was already a Middle East hawk. The thing that the money does is it creates a financial incentive, right? It's basically, you're going to lose your job if you start to change your position or wake up to the truth. So it really keeps you locked into that viewpoint.
Yep. Give me a check and it will make me a real believer. Trump claims the U.S. has total control, Kyle, over the Strait of Hormuz, and we may keep it. I think we're going to keep it. Wouldn't you like to keep it? The Strait of Hormuz. Keep it. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke at this point, man.
It really is. It doesn't even seem like a believable lie, right? Like, this Strait of Hormuz, most Americans can't find it on the map, but we know that if the U.S. could control the Strait of Hormuz, that we would already. So how is he planning on keeping a body of water that we can't control 6 months into a war? It's absolutely insane. And nobody knows what he means, right? The way he talks when he says we're going to control it, right? One day he's going to say, oh, that means Oman has some say over half of the Strait of Hormuz. That's American control. Or when he talks about nuclear dust, like, what is he actually talking about when he says the nuclear dust? Some kind of enriched uranium, it seems, but is it the 60%? Is it 20%? Is it 5%? I really, I assume it's the 60%, but I don't know for sure. Or 20%. And so this is just absolutely really crazy what Donald Trump has done here.
At what point? And I believe this is all kabuki theater anyways, right? It's all an act. I mean, this guy he is a WWE Hall of Famer, right? That's where he made his bones, right? And this, I mean, pretty much he treats the presidency when he addresses the press or he goes on Truth Social or Twitter, he treats this kind of like arena like it's a WWE wrestling base, a bunch of fans. Like that's who I think he's talking to. The most lowest informed in this country, right, is the ones who are kind of still following him, going along, and people still stick by him because of their ideology, right? The anti-communism, anti-wokeism, anti-Muslim, anti-collectivism group. Like he's all those things, and because he's
he's only anti-Muslim.
What?
I mean, they're really only anti-Muslim. They're woke. It's just on the Jewish issue that they're woke, right? Like, their third rail is the Israel issue. If you try to touch that, then you're an anti-Semite and you're going to get canceled. So, I mean, I'm just saying that, like, he's really abandoned all of that. They try to spin the anti-communist stuff, but a lot of the people that they're calling communists, me and you both know, Pasta, that they're not communists. They may be progressive left-wingers, but one thing AOC is not is a communist.
The majority of the people he's talking to believe she's a communist. They believe Joe Biden is a Marxist communist. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and like the caller said, Donald Trump is just as much or more of a communist than Joe Biden is, right? At least from the libertarian perspective, where
there's a lot of
it's more central control. Under him, the Federal Reserve is actually buying up American companies, right? They're taking states in America. That is I don't want the government to not only be providing particularly corporate welfare, right? Like that's my biggest concern. I really don't care that much about food stamps, but but any direct intervention in the economy is communism from my point of view. So Donald Trump has done far more of that than Joe Biden.
If the state is doing that, that's fascism.
We call it whatever we want, but I just call it communism.
If corporations are buying up the state, or the states are buying, I guess if the state's buying up corporations, it's communism. If the corporations are buying up the state, it's fascism.
And it's hard to figure out here because part of the reason that the state is buying up corporations is because of corporate influence over the state, right?
Yeah.
It's a financial benefit. It's not like typically what you would see in like a communist or a socialist situation is like the state forcibly seizing capital from the private class and putting it under state control. Yeah. Where in this case, it's all driven by the corporations themselves to boost their own private gains from the business. So it's really a wild mix of the two.
Yeah. And Mussolini wasn't clear on who the dominant force is. He said it was the merger of corporations and state. He really didn't classify, like, it's the merger of corporations and state at the behest of the corporations, right? That's the way I kind of look at fascism, right? Is when the corporations have this public-private relationship and they're kind of, the corporations are dictating what's going on. That I look at as more fascism, when it really wasn't that, right? It was more the state that had a lot of things going on with Mussolini. Like, he was dictating a lot what was allowed to be. So, I mean, potato, tomato, right? Yeah. Who knows? When you combine fascism with communism, you get totalitarianism. Thank you, Greg Dub.
We're definitely moving in that direction here.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging on out. We want you to share the show if you can. I'm here. It's Thursday. It's Kyle Lands Alone. Kyle Anzalone Day, I should say. Call us. The number is 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. I'm a little loopy today. I'm like, I don't know why. The eclipse. When is the eclipse coming?
What eclipse? I'm not familiar with this.
Know about the what is it, Sleepy, when they say Venus is in retrograde or whatever, Mercury's in retrograde?
I don't know none of that shit.
I'm with Sleepy on this
You're not
one.
even aware of it. When you come to the show, you be ready to talk about astrology.
I don't believe in none of that shit. So
I didn't see no eclipse yesterday. You saw the red agamas running around, though. I bet you that. It's 9 o'clock. We got an hour left. We've already had 2 callers. Come on, let's break the record. We had 7 on Monday, I think. Was it Monday we had 7?
I think
it
so.
was Monday or Tuesday. The eclipse was yesterday, Don? Don's on vacation. He's got a cocktail in one hand with an umbrella. He's got that white stuff all over his face so he doesn't burn. You know? He's out there roasting and toasting. Really early. Where are you at? It's so early. Go sleep in. You're on vacation, man. The eclipse wasn't visible in North America. But I thought it was supposed to be like all negative energy and bad things happened. Why didn't anything bad things happen yesterday?
I'm sure
I am
bad
loopy
shit happened
today.
yesterday.
What's that?
I said I bet tons of bad shit happened yesterday.
Not to me, though. Somebody told me, like, you got to watch out for the eclipse. It's going to be crazy. You got to be careful. This is a bad one. In all societies, they know when an eclipse is coming. Things are bad. I can hear my mom is yelling over there. By the way, I'm going to be on with Matt Weinglass later today. Sam Husseini is going to be chilling out with us. Have you had Sam on your show yet?
I have. I am on a couple weeks ago to talk about COVID stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Because Sam had done some really good work on gain of function. In, I want to say, May of 2020, Sam wrote an article on gain of function and, basically warning how this technology, if it didn't create the COVID pandemic, could potentially create a even worse pandemic in the future, because the way the governments are playing with this. He went into all these cases of times like Ebola or anthrax or other pathogens had leaked out of these labs and these gain of function experiences. So it's really of my time as an editor at antiwar.com, one of I think the most important articles that we published during my time there. And so I was really happy to have him on and talk to him about it.
Yeah. Sam Husseini, he announced this morning he's running for Congress. We'll play the announcement so you can all see.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. He's getting ready. Let me get it up for you. I'll find it. But man, oh man. We need somebody to call on in. I had some videos to play to as well. I hear my mom kind of yelling. I want to go check up on her. We have an aide here, but I want to check up on her because she's yelling pretty loud. So,
well, Pasta, there's one story I want to mention. If you need a second, I can maybe talk about for 3 minutes or so.
Can you do that? Because I want to go check up on my mom here real
so
quick.
I kind of, most North Korea has kind of fallen by the wayside as a major topic of conversation. But next week, the U.S. and South Korea are actually, I think later this week, the U.S. and South Korea Saturday will kick off their largest war games of the year, the Freedom Shield War Games. And North Korea has already tested a couple missiles in response to this. So this is a time of year that a lot more attention is paid to the Korea issue. Of course, there's always maybe the outside hope that this will lead some kind of talks between Trump and Kim Jong-un. They do both sides keep saying that the two leaders have this important relationship, but there's another development here to keep our eye on, and that is Pyongyang is really upset about Washington attempting to bring Japan and South Korea into an alliance with the United States and each other. And more importantly, they're really concerned about the nuclear sharing going on between those three countries. And so the U.S. has been working on nuclear submarine programs with the South Koreans, and North Korea is basically warning that South Korea is going to use this program to break out to make a nuclear weapon. When you have a nuclear submarine, I believe that runs on 60% enriched uranium. So the South Koreans are already enriching to that high of a level to produce nuclear fuel for their submarines. North Korea has very short distance to go. Obviously, this is somewhat hypocritical coming from Pyongyang, a country that does have nuclear weapons, saying that other countries can have nuclear weapons. Yet, from the North Korean perspective, South Korea and Japan are both under the American nuclear umbrella. And so their nuclear program is to a deterrence for that. And if Japan or South Korea were to move ahead with nuclearization, that would create additional problems for them. Also, on the Japanese side, they announced pretty recently a major upgrade to their nuclear energy infrastructure. This could just be real upgrades to their nuclear energy infrastructure. I don't like to buy into, a state saying, oh, that state's doing something bad like the U.S. and Israel do with Iran on their nuclear program, but it is something to keep our eyes on. Again, especially as the U.S. is expanding this nuclear sharing between itself and encouraging Japan and South Korea to have a tighter relationship. And the reason that this rubs North Korea really the wrong way, of course, goes back to World War II, where Japan occupied the entirety of the Korean Peninsula and committed really, really horrific atrocities against the Korean people. Experimentation on the Korean men, mass killings of Korean, particularly men. The women were kidnapped and used as sex slaves for Japanese soldiers. If you look up the comfort women, the comfort women subject, they'll go into detail about that. Japan has offered some vague apologies, but hasn't paid restitution for that. And so North Korea really doesn't want Japanese involvement on the Korean Peninsula for that reason. And American involvement as well. The Korean War was absolutely brutal on North Korea. I've read something like 15 to 20% of all the structures in North Korea were bombed and destroyed. At one point, they talked about any structure over 2 stories tall being bombed and destroyed. And of course, the U.S. used biological warfare in Korea. Jeffrey Kay has done some really great work going through the archives to find the actual proof, because at the time we got these videos from downed American pilots who I believe were held by Chinese intelligence, who said that they were using biological weapons. We have the tie-in with the Frank Olson murder and his whole saga working at Fort Detrick, and it seems that potentially what led to him being suicided was the fact that he was taking objection to the biological weapons program he was involved with being used in Korea. But again, I think Jeffrey Kay has done the best work on this, actually going through the American archives to show that this was going on. I'll hand it back to you, Pasta.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. And I did find this over here. This is Sam Husseini's announcement. By the way, can you put a bow on the whole situation? What to expect from the North Korea, South Korea situation right now? What you're talking about?
Yeah, so over the next week and a half, there's going to be mass U.S. and South Korean war games. I would suspect that North Korea is going to kick off their own, similar war games. They're going to fire probably a half dozen to a dozen missiles. Kim Jong-un will, or some high-ranking North Korean leader, maybe his sister, will make some bold statements. And, there's multiple directions this could go. Sometimes it just fizzles. Sometimes this kicks off a heightened period of tensions. At the beginning of the Trump administration, we actually added a couple new fighter squadrons to the Korean Peninsula and formed a super squadron of fighter jets, which North Korea is very uneasy about. They feel like this is something that the Americans would use for a strike, a decapitation strike on Pyongyang. And an additional thing to add into the mix here is that North Korea does have this new alliance with the Russians. And North Korea, or the Ukrainians are claiming that North Korea is giving Russia missiles that Russia is using in Ukraine. I have no idea if this is true or not. It's possible. It seems to me that
They're
this
also
would be the
claiming that
case.
there are North Korean soldiers there, right? Too, that North Korean soldiers are fighting with the Russians too.
I'm not sure if they're actually claiming they're fighting inside of Ukraine. They had said that there were additional North Korean forces building up inside of Russia. From my understanding, and I've talked to Professor Joe Twillinger about this, he was actually Dennis Rodman's translator when he met with Kim Jong-un and taught at a North Korean university for a few years when that was allowed, has met Kim Jong-un a few times. So really good source on this. His position is that the North Korean and Russian pact basically says that North Korea will help Russia defend Russian soil, not actually go into Ukraine. Now, this could maybe get a little bit complicated when Russia has annexed portions of Ukraine that are still held by Ukrainian forces. So does that mean that the Ukrainian forces would be willing to go into Zaporizhia and try to take that territory from the Ukrainian forces? I think it's unlikely. On the North Korean missile use, I kind of lean towards it being unlikely. However, if Russia does feel they have an advantage right now with Ukraine's lack of air defenses and are trying to push that advantage, I'm not sure why Putin or Kim would necessarily object to Russia using North Korean missiles inside of Ukraine. And, maybe that's some added pressure this time on rather than this North Korea situation fizzling out after the American and South Korean war games, it actually escalating. I don't see any real chance that this is going to lead to negotiations between Trump and Kim. Sometimes the North Koreans do use these war games and missile tests to get on the radar in Washington. And then Kim Jong-un will send Donald Trump a letter. And that letter will say some nice things about Donald Trump and will, maybe make a couple offers from North Korea in order to start moving in the right direction with the Americans. I can't imagine that Donald Trump has the bandwidth for that right now. That being said, maybe he's going to be so desperate for a foreign policy win heading into the midterms that he tries to do something bold on North Korea to distract from Iran.
Well, wasn't there a lot of talk last time? I mean, I don't want to give Donald Trump credit, but where you have to give credit where credit's due, right? In other words, a lot of people felt that the actions that Donald Trump was taking with North Korea and Kim Jong-un was because he saw a great chance for a manufacturing base that the United States can make a partner. However, the military-industrial complex faction of the United States said no way, and North Korea got mad because they thought they had created some type of peace, that those war games would stop, but they never stopped. In fact, they increased. And a lot of people don't realize that when they do these war games, a lot of times, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, South Korea will mimic almost like an invasion of North Korea. And that's why they sometimes get very upset when it comes to these war games. And they didn't stop them. And they thought that there would be some progress between North Korea and the United States, and maybe they would suspend these games, but they never suspended them. And they almost kind of it was like the military industrial complex saying, we control shit, Donald Trump, not you.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things about the military-industrial complex's position on North Korea is for a long time they would admit in closed circles that part of the reason they needed the North Korean threat was they wanted to have a lot of military assets in East Asia. They wanted to have an excuse to put a THAAD system in South Korea, to have the 7th Fleet Anti-Aircraft Carrier Strike Group in Japan. And they wanted that because of China, but the American people weren't sufficiently concerned that China was a military threat to sign on to sending, spending all these resources in East Asia. Well, that has kind of gone now, and a lot of Americans through decades of propaganda now believe China is a threat. So it would almost seem like it would maybe be a prime time to go ahead and take North Korea away as an enemy because it just adds an extra complexity. The problem is we waited so long that Pyongyang completely gave up on talks with the US, and Vladimir Putin in Russia was, in a position where I think, he needed a little bit of help in the war against Ukraine. And so North Korea, Iran were able to help provide that to the Russians. And Kim was able to make, I think, a really good deal for North Korea with Russia. I mean, a mutual defense pact with the Russians for a country like North Korea is like, Latvia joining NATO in a sense. I mean, North Korea does have their own nuclear weapons stockpile and things like that, but it is a fairly impoverished country. They put a lot of men under arms, but, these are all conscripts who do not have, a lot of advanced technology or anything like that. Certainly not before the deal with Russia. And so North Korea's gotten access to technology and other exchanges from the Russians here, and they're far less interested in making a deal with the Americans now. And actually, the close ties with Russia have, because China and North Korea, people in America kind of pretended like China controlled North Korea, and that was never the case. And in fact, in the 2010s, the relationship between the two countries had, I would say, gotten a little icy. It wasn't like bad. It's not as if, Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping were like insulting each other or didn't like each other, but the relationship had gotten a little icy. I think it had gotten worse under COVID with the measures that Pyongyang and Beijing took between the two countries. And so the relationship with Moscow made Beijing a little bit uncomfortable, like, hey, these two nuclear powers that border us have formed a mutual defense pact. And now we've seen Kim make a trip to China and more diplomacy with the Chinese. And the North Koreans say that they are not interested in speaking with the Americans until the Americans agree to take denuclearization off the table as a topic for conversation. And that's because of their strength in geopolitical position.
When Vladimir Putin went out there, I'll never forget that too. He didn't go out by himself. He brought out Sergei Lavrov, Dmitry Peskov went with him. Obviously, the
defense minister at the time,
North Korea, was there. But he also brought out a bunch of foreign affairs officials, security advisors, people within his cabinet, people that were involved with tourism, whatnot. So it was a huge trip when they went over there. Yeah, it was more than just, about military, right? And it was so many things involved, whatnot. And yeah, I remember the pictures of Putin and Kim Jong-un driving around in that car. Putin was like driving that car. I don't know if it was like a Rolls or something, but it was quite interesting. So yeah, I've been to symposiums before where it's North Korean and South Korean people together that are begging the U.S. for some type of solution because they want to reunite with their family members. Right? I believe it's the DMZ. Is that the line that's there in North Korea, South Korea?
Right. And this is the travesty of the first Trump administration, really, because when Trump took office, there was this huge scandal in South Korea where the former president, I think Park, was actually thrown in jail. South Koreans actually throw their corrupt leaders in jail. So a cultural habit I wish we pick up on this country. And this ushered in she was a conservative, and it ushered in a real opportunity for a liberal candidate in South Korea, and that was Moon Jae-in. I believe one of his parents was actually not a North Korean, but was from the north of Korea before the Korean War divided the Korean Peninsula into North and South Korea. It was a huge advocate.
I think it was Kim Jong-un's not Kim Jong-un, Moon Jae-park or whatever.
Moon Jae-in.
Moon Jae-in. His father wrote, I think, one of the first peace papers for both North and reunification between North and South Korea. So there's a history of pushing for peace. And Moon Jae-in was the one who was brought across when he went across with Kim Jong-un, and Kim Jong-un was like, why don't you come back over here? And Moon Jae-in was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? That was one of the greatest moments in history, seeing those two walk back and forth between North and South Korea. I'm sorry, please continue, Kyle. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say of Moon, he was a real advocate of the Sunshine Policy, which is where they were like building factories along the border. These families from North and South Korea would have like these meetings, and you would see these videos of like a mother who hadn't seen her son in X number of years, two brothers who hadn't seen each other. And we're talking like 3 or 4 decades here. Like, long periods of time where they had not seen their relatives, maybe not even had a chance to speak with those relatives. And, you know, he was a big advocate for that. And getting along with the North Koreans, he wanted the U.S. to like lift sanctions on North Korea so they could begin doing, I think they want to build like a railway that was, I think, you know, ostensibly for diplomatic channels to like physically travel back and forth between Seoul and Pyongyang. But of course, it could be easily expanded to do commercial and to do commerce and things like that. So I thought there was a real opportunity there because of the leadership you had in South Korea, because Kim Jong-un had a positive relationship with Donald Trump and was also in a mood to make a deal with the Americans, that Donald Trump really could have gotten a good deal done with the North Koreans. Was Kim Jong-un going to give up his nuclear weapons? No. He was going to stop testing missiles. And at the time, North Korea certainly didn't have an ICBM reliably capable of hitting the United States of America. Maybe they could have tried, but there was some evidence that they hadn't mastered the insulation, or I don't know what they're called, heat panels on the missile needed for reentry. And so at that time, we really could have stopped North Korea's missile program at a time where they couldn't have hit the United States of America, had them agree not to make new nuclear weapons so they would cap their stockpile between 30 and 60. And then over time, you know, we get other rounds of de-escalation between South Korea and North Korea where they're taking military positions away from the DMZ and maybe giving up longer range missiles. And so in this way, you know, even if North Korea does have nuclear weapons, it's not really a threat. It's really only a deterrence factor for the North Koreans to hang on to. And so, yeah, it was just such a missed opportunity from Washington not to go ahead and get a deal done there.
Well, why do you think the deal didn't get done?
Because that book you held up earlier, The Art of the Deal, doesn't work with geopolitics. Because Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un had signed the Singapore summit, and just like the memorandum of understanding, it laid out a pathway for the United States and North Korea to eventually reach a deal. And then when they got together in Hanoi, he made 2 mistakes. One, he imposed additional conditions on North Korea that the North Koreans wouldn't accept. Now, this is the art of the deal, right? Donald Trump's negotiating standards, where the deal is on the table. He then goes in and demands something unreasonable, and then he gets a little bit more from you, right? He's going to take an extra 3 or 5% cut from the deal. And that happened, but at the same time, he brought John Bolton into the meeting. And John Bolton explicitly told the North Koreans that the U.S. wanted Libyan-style denuclearization, which Kim Jong-un is not a stupid man. He has known for years. Professor Joe told me that Kim Jong-un told him this personally, that the examples of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya and Saddam Hussein in Iraq are the reason that he's not going to give up his nuclear weapons. And so to cite a denuclearization process that happened in Libya that led to the brutal assassination of Muammar Gaddafi was something that Kim Jong-un understood, I think, not only to be a deal breaker, but a threat to his own life. And the North Koreans got up and left the meeting because Kim Jong-un isn't going to sit there at a table with John Bolton and have his life threatened by him. And so that's how that got blown up.
There were people who would say, though, too, as well, and I wanted to know if there's any validity to this, and you can probably give a good opinion, that Donald Trump couldn't pull back the reins on the military-industrial complex. In other words, when they do those drills and the drills they got coming up, the United States spends a lot of money on that. There's a whole, financial aspect to that, and they didn't want to stop doing that. a lot of people in the military-industrial complex make money in Korea and South Korea, and they don't want to they don't want to lose those funds. So a lot of people said that had something to do with it, and that Donald Trump just didn't have the strength or the power to pull back the reins on the military-industrial complex because of the financial issues. Do you see any validity to that statement?
Not really, because Donald Trump actually did curtail significantly the war games. I think they took away all the kinetic parts of those war games. And if you remember, I mean, this is a while ago now, like 7 years or so, but I think like 2018, 2019, North Korea agreed to a missile test moratorium. And that lasted for a couple of years. It wasn't until Biden restarted the kinetic war games. I think North Korea had maybe tested like 1 or 2 short range rockets, not even real missiles. But other than that, it wasn't until Joe Biden started the war games back up that North Korea resumed the missile testing. This is another case, Pasta, where all the United States really has to do if the military-industrial complex wants to wage a large war game is move it 1,000 miles south and hold it in the Philippines, right? And they did this. I think it's the Saber Talisman war games that they have going on, and they conduct it between Australia and Japan and Indonesia, and they get all these other countries that are somewhat allied with the United States in the region, or in the waters around the Philippines and on the land and some of these Filipino islands, and they conduct these war games. So it certainly seems like this is something that could be negotiated around. And look, from the South Korean perspective, as much as their military industrial complex might want to hang on to the war games, there are other incentives we could kind of offer Seoul, such as saying that if South Korea goes to war, a South Korean general will be in charge of that war. A very interesting thing to know is that if South Korea goes into a state of war, it's actually the American military commander in South Korea that's going to be the man in charge of the combined armies there, and now the South Korean army. So, if the U.S. is pulling back, then we give South Korea more of their autonomy in exchange.
Interesting stuff, Kyle. We're gonna have to pay attention. We also got to pay attention to this guy. He's been on Kyle Angelo's show before. Do we have a caller, Sleepy? Or are we okay to go with this?
We're fine.
We're gonna go with this. Is Sam Husseini making an announcement, y'all? Let's take a listen. Let's listen on in. Let me make sure the volume's up. You're watching Drive Time. You can give us a call, 561-247-2721.
Hello, my name is Sam Husseini. Last year, I confronted Antony Blinken. Last month, I confronted Democratic Party leader Chuck Schumer. Now, I'm launching a run for Congress. The genocide-enabling Republican and Democratic Party establishments must be confronted at every turn and on every front. They represent the interests of the Epstein class, while relentlessly conning working people. Not only are they sending our tax dollars to Imperial Israel to destroy schools, hospitals, and housing in Gaza, money which should be going to building up schools, hospitals, and housing here at home, but their backing Imperial Israel has also made our nation more of an empire and even less of a democracy, with big tech surveillance, militarization of police, and attacks on free speech and the right to protest. We need to renew Main Street. We can no longer abide Wall Street and war machine Democrats. They are often enabling rather than hindering Trump, including with this unconstitutional attack on Iran, just the latest of these imperial Zionist wars. It has already cost us $750 per household in increased fuel and other costs in just 3 months. And Trump's issued nuclear threats while refusing to acknowledge Israel's nukes. My Democratic Party opponent, Glenn Ivey, got into Congress with millions in pro-Israel money like AIPAC, and even opposed Obama's Iran deal. We must take on the data centers, insurance companies, and abolish ICE. By working for peace, we will, as Gil Scott-Heron put it, bring ourselves closer to each other, closer to building a structure that is unique within ourselves, because we have finally come to peace within ourselves, including as a nation. I'm running outside of the 2 major parties that serve their billionaire donors. Like most of my fellow citizens, I am ready for transformational political change. by running with an independent party that rejects corporate money and super PACs, the Green Party. I am spitting out the whole corrupt political system.
Yeah.
Please volunteer, and if you can, contribute. Let's seize this historic moment to make our country a real democracy for all.
Kyle, he's
I
running
like
as a
it.
green. I didn't know he was going to be running as a green. That's news to me.
Oh yeah, I mean that's interesting. I guess what you made the choices you made to get the ballot access you need to get and things like that. I don't know all of Sam's policies, so I'm not sure why he signed up with the Greens. But whoever did his campaign ad did a nice job. He did a nice speech there. I'm looking forward to this.
He did also mention about abolishing ICE, so he was in there for that. I'm an anti-ICE person through and through. I can't stand ICE.
He's pretty on point.
Not
in
just
general.
ideologically.
I mean,
they're terrible with the Constitution. Sorry, go ahead, Sleepy.
I was just gonna say, Sam Hussein is pretty on point most of the time. So
he is. He's one of my favorite guys out there.
Not that I think he can win or anything, but if I get to see him in someone's face debating, that'd be pretty awesome.
And that's the thing. You're not out there to win. You're out there to spark the conversations.
Yeah.
I think that Sam is realistic that he knows he's not going to win. It's a rigged system anyways. Maybe he does believe it. I don't know. I'll talk to him more about it. But he did. He said these parties got to be confronted on every single level. And
in any way possible. And that is one of the ways.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get some noise going, you get people following you, you can spark the conversation. It's very interesting right now, this whole kind of Republican primary out here in Florida for governor between James Fishback and, it was his name, Byron Daniels or Byron Donalds, the Trump guy. It's interesting, the rhetoric that's going on, the confrontation with each other. And, it's people can pay attention to this stuff. They will pay attention to it. The news cycle could go there. So maybe Sam can spark some interest and get some people to pay attention. What is his primary? Does he have a primary, or is it just going right to the general? Do we even know? I got a lot of questions to ask Sam. I'm going to be Byron Donalds. Yeah, my Florida friends told me. I'm going to be speaking to Sam today on Matt's show, so we'll be interviewing him over there. So we'll ask him a lot of questions, and we'll see where he's coming from. I think it's pretty cool, though, by the way. 561-247-2721. We haven't had any calls in a little while. We had two early. Let's get another call going, guys. This is the platform for you to call on in and have the conversations. That's what we're here for. I got Kyle Anzalone. It is Thursday, August 13th, year of our Lord, is what Steve Bannon would say. We're hanging on out, Sleepy J. Guys, remember all the links down below to help out the channel are there. We're building something special with your help. Enterman Bill is holding it down over there with all those other people on the Rumble over there. So we have a decent audience, some decent numbers, over 70-something, almost 50 on YouTube. So I like it, and every week we've been growing it, and I do appreciate it. We want to make this the place in the mornings where you come, you get your news on, you listen, you talk, you say what you got to say, and then you bounce on out, and we start our day well. We start our day good. Who do you have coming on this week, or what do you have going on over there, the Kyle Anzalone Show?
I have Charles Goyette coming on today. Yesterday I had on Nolan Denaro. He is just 19 years old, but this guy is really writing some great articles. If you haven't read it yet, we've been writing him at antiwar.com probably weekly for about 2 or 3 months now. He's also written for Responsible Statecraft, the Mises Institute, the Libertarian Institute. So really doing some good work, well-spoken guy. So I really enjoyed that interview. I had Chaz Freeman on Tuesday, and Monday I was out, but fortunately Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski filled in for me, and she interviewed Larry Johnson on Monday. So it was one of those times
I saw that one. It was
my
good.
own show and really enjoying it.
Sleepy mentioned that he got to see that one. Sleepy?
I saw that one and the Chaz Freeman one. I enjoyed both of them.
He's got some good stuff going over there at the Kyle Anzalone Show. Go check him out. He's got a Rumble. He's got a YouTube just like me. So you can go watch either way and check out that. Also, just the antiwar.com. You know, if you guys don't know about that, that's one of the great resources. We already showed a clip from that today. Donald Trump said he's got complete 100% control of the Strait of Hormuz. He's got it. Guys, give us a call. We still have some time. 561-247-2721. It's 561-247-2721.
Pasta, other than the interview with Sam later today, what you got going on?
I'll be back here tomorrow with Andrew Zigman, hopefully. And I don't know if Fee will be able to pick up and do another show this week, but Fiorella is kind of trying to get back into the mix. We did a show yesterday, Fiorella, I, and Matt Weinglass, so that was fun. That was on the Truth Wire. So, yeah, always got stuff going on, right? Always working, always doing what we can do. So, fun stuff.
Got any more sandwich reviews from Peru?
I do not, but that video is going to be done. The next video we're going to be editing after that is a bolognese video. Because remember I was talking about the bolognese and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the bolognese I made last week. We have that, and that's got to be edited, so that's going to be fun. That one has some pork in it, you know what I'm saying? That one was a little bit more spicy, more zesty. But I also explained that you just use whatever meat you have in your house. So I'll have some more videos going. You know what I'm saying?
Great.
Always. Always.
Yeah, get that bolognese one up. I want to know how to make it.
It's so easy to make. It's like one of the easiest things to make. You know? Somebody's sending me a message. I'm sorry. Guys, give us a call. 561-247-2721. We're having dead air here for the first time ever. I don't even think I've been caught with nothing to say here in the mornings. We always got so many things going on. We were talking about Korea. We were talking about any new updates on Ukraine, the situation that you've heard. Anything new going on over there, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest development we already touched on a little bit, and that is the Ukrainians claiming that Russia is using North Korean ballistic missiles in the conflict. Otherwise, Russia really seems to have defeated Ukraine's missile defenses at this point. They're maybe able to shoot down some drones, but the ballistic missiles are just raining down on Ukrainian cities. And it does seem that Russia is really focusing on the south of Ukraine. And as I've been saying since the beginning of the war, if Russia is going to win this war and turn Ukraine into a rump state, that means taking Odessa in Ukraine's Black Sea coast. And it looks like we're moving closer to that. That may also, for Moscow, in some way, at least make the Transnistria situation more resolvable if they could just, at least have their territory connected to Transnistria, which is a semi-autonomous region of Moldova that borders Ukraine. And so if Russia would take along Ukraine's Black Sea coast, they would then have a land border linkage to Transnistria. So I do think we're moving in that direction. Ukraine is conducting some more attacks on vessels, lots of drone strikes inside of Russia. Not any significant targets I've seen hit over the past week inside of Russia. Not that nothing has been hit, but it's not like they've hit a military base or a major refinery or something 1,000 miles from the front lines. I know Zelensky is really trying to spin and saying that, we're conquering territory, we're winning this war, but the videos of them scooping conscripts off the street just keep pouring out of Ukraine. It looks absolutely miserable to be a man in that country right now. You're just going to get thrown into this meat grinder. Now, also interesting. Oh, there we go.
Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Attorney Michael Santucci from Fort Lauderdale. How you doing, Pasta?
Good to hear you, Mikey. How you doing, bud?
Good. I got a suggestion for a competition, and I got an issue just to raise for debate. I don't necessarily feel strongly about one side or the other, but it was from a personal experience recently. The first is just a quick suggestion. I would like to do a bolognese challenge, and we each make a video, and we post it to Drive Time, and we let the commenters vote on whose looks best, at least. Unfortunately, they can't taste it. But I happen to have a good video editor who lives with me, who's 11 years old, and I can perhaps have her make both of our bolognese videos.
I'm down. I'm always down for that. Maybe we could fly Kyle out to be the taste tester, just so he has somebody taste test it. You know.
I would love that. I would love to have Kyle over for dinner.
What's the second part?
We could do it in Boca. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm a volunteer for the campaign of Victoria Walker, who's running for Broward County judge.
Is it Veronica?
And Veronica Walker for Broward County judge. Right now, she's in the state attorney's office. She's the head of the Public Corruption and Hate Crime Division, which is an interesting position. And of course, that aligns with her values. But I'm not really trying to plug her. The issue I wanted to raise, I was out volunteering last Saturday just to hand out literature and to talk to, incoming and outgoing voters going into the early voting polls. And we were hit with a new interpretation of a fairly new rule. And I'm just wondering what all you guys think about this, and girls who are listening. The rule in Broward County that the supervisor of elections, Joe Scott, has, quote, reminded us of is that you need to stay 150 feet from the entrance to the polling place. This polling place happened to be a library in Coral Springs, Florida. But they also added a drive-through option, which there is a tent set up where you can hand in your ballot by driving up. So the interpretation was we had to stay 150 feet from not only the entrance to the library, but also from the tent, which basically locked us out of almost the entire parking lot. And what that does, and really here's the issue for debate, it kept volunteers from being able to verbally engage with people going in to vote. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But a lot of the volunteers were kind of like veteran election volunteers who have either, actually worked the polls through the supervisor of elections or through different candidates throughout the years. The Dale Holness' volunteers were there. Debbie Wasserman Schultz volunteers were there. Everybody was kind of complaining on equal footing. But the issue, I guess, is should volunteers or campaign representatives be able to speak to and actually, talk to voters who are walking into a polling place? Or is the polling place such a private, sacred place and your vote is supposed to be anonymous that people shouldn't be bothered by someone trying to, engage them in a conversation? So there was, a lot of debate for and against. Obviously, the volunteers of the campaigns were pissed off at this interpretation because they wanted to engage the voters in a conversation. So, but that was Joe Scott, our supervisor of elections here in Broward. That was his interpretation, which kind of locked us out. It was kind of standing on main roads in 95-degree heat, just basically holding signs instead of talking to people.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you want to go first, Kyle? Or you want me to tackle it real quick?
Yeah, no, I guess one of my initial reactions is always to the people standing outside the polling place trying to get people to vote on certain things as they're walking in is, man, I really wish voters would have done some research at home before coming to the polling station. It doesn't seem like
Yep.
you're going to have like a well-informed electorate if this is where people are deciding to vote. Now, you are talking about a county judge. It's not necessarily for president of the United States, where you know there's not going to be a whole lot of media to do research on about these candidates without probably some real digging, particularly if your candidate has a name. I think you said like Veronica Walker or something that's gonna it's going to turn up more than one Google search result, right? So I'm not like trying to in any way condemn what you're doing. But overall, I think you should be allowed to do it. I mean, particularly if you're just a volunteer, you're just a private American citizen walking around outside of the library trying to engage fellow voters on what they think and how they might want to vote. So I'm not sure how it wouldn't be an infringement on your First Amendment right to create this rule. If there's like some law that says no loitering on the grounds of the library, then maybe you couldn't loiter there. But other than that, it would seem as if this is a pretty clear violation of the First Amendment to me.
So it's a little complicated, right? Right now, the main thing is that if there's going to be a certain rule out there that prevents you from really talking to people when they go into the polls, that rule has to be held across the board. In other words, if a grassroots candidate can't do certain X, Y, and Z, then Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her team shouldn't be able to do X, Y, and Z. And that's where usually the problem occurs, where they'll use the laws and they'll kind of protect their friends and they'll give special treatment to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But the grassroots candidate running against her can't get 100 yards from a polling site. Now, there is something to be said that, like in a lot of other countries, for instance, there are elections on a Sunday. Friday night at 7 o'clock is the last day campaign. So they do their last rally and they're done. And then on election day, no party teams can be there pushing for anybody. Only the poll workers from different teams can be there, but they can't push anybody or press anybody. They can't wear clothing that kind of promotes one team over the other. And I'm okay with that. The early voting situation is just throwing a monkey wrench into everything, right? Because now if early voting starts in one state, 3 weeks, when is the primary itself? It's supposed to be, what's
August
the date?
18th.
And
August
early voting
18th.
started when?
Early voting started last Saturday,
Yeah.
I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So now it's like that complicates things for the rules when they say, okay, you have to stop at this day, but you get 2 days later, everybody's going to vote. You have to stop campaigning. I understand that. This one's the waters are a little muddied here because it's the election that is almost like right around the corner and you still have weeks before the election starts. You should still be able to campaign. So right now, I think the most important thing is that the laws that are set, they got to make sure that they're accurate across the board, right? They have to make sure that both teams, both parties, both candidates, that those rules are applied to it. But there is something that's a little bit sucky, and now you have a little drive-up situation which throws you so far away from actually talking to people. And like I said, if this was election day and it was one day of election, I'm like, no, you're not allowed to talk to anybody going into that. You got to stay far away from the polling spot. But it's not. It's early voting, and it starts weeks before the actual election day. So I mean, it is a quagmire. It is messed up. I don't like the early voting. I think it's a little bit crazy. So this one is definitely a hard one to kind of comment or take a position on. I'd have to do more research on it, see what's going on, what could be said. But it is far out from election day that you have to stop campaigning. That is weird. Yeah.
Pasta, can I follow up? I think you raise a great point about consistency in these rules and these interpretations across the board. Because I think a rule like I just mentioned, that you have to stay 150 feet away from the door to the polling place and from the booth for drive-up votes, I would think that would favor incumbents. Because I think an insurgent candidate has more of a need to engage voters. to change the status quo. So think about it. Broward County, who's probably one of the most blue counties in the South, if that has the rule, and this is where Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running, and this is a very blue county. For this blue county like Broward to have that rule, but no other counties in Florida have that rule. Think about that, and think about how that can be used, for manipulation, where if each county has a different rule as to whether or not you can engage voters or not. Now, it's not really a rule saying you can't engage voters. It's just saying you got to stay so far away from the polling place that you're never going to get them between their car and them walking in. So it's open to manipulation unless there's either a station nationwide or at least a statewide consistency in that kind of rule and the interpretation to the rule. And let me just say, take my volunteer hat off, or my advocate, I don't want to be accosted by people when I'm walking into the voting booth. I want it to be kind of anonymous. It's a sacred, really important day and thing that we do. And I don't want to be, harassed by a bunch of people, even though I love the debate. I love standing around after and talking to people, and having a conversation. That's why I love a show like yours. So,
the main thing is that usually these incumbents are protected by those in power, and usually it's the election officials that are working at the behest of the establishment, trying to keep them in power, especially when different counties and different states, right, where you have different, either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party that seem to be running that election. So when you have third parties, Green parties, Libertarians trying to get involved, independents, it's tough. It's tough to break through that duopoly. And a lot of times those rules are in place, not so much because they want it fair across the board, but they want to find out a way they can suppress that grassroots candidate any way they can. They want to make sure. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has to be one of the worst congressional women. I don't know. She might not be as bad as your boy Jared Moskowitz, but she's up there. And yet she's been in power for God knows how long. You can't convince me and to not believe that these elections here in Florida aren't rigged. I mean, they are rigged.
Well, I'm not going to express my opinion about them because I am working for a nonpartisan candidate in a nonpartisan race. Our judges, for everybody outside of Florida, in a lot of states, judges are appointed, or there's a process for getting them into office or qualifying them. Here in Broward, here in Florida, you run for judge. It's political, but they have to be nonpartisan. They cannot affiliate with a party in their race. So I try to stay even keel and try to at least publicly stay out of any sort of partisan politics when I'm trying to help a judge or get reelected, or a new judge, like in the case of Veronica Walker, get elected. But I forgot what I was going to say about the about the rule issue. Oh yeah, about trying to knock out an incumbent. There's so many things that a supervisor of election can do at the local level, like something like this, that can kind of dissuade voters either way, or maybe even suppress the vote. So again, Pasta, your work and the expertise you've acquired through your work with election integrity issues, all around our hemisphere is much needed and much appreciated.
Well, thank you. People find it to be a boring topic, but I think it's so important because it really is supposed to be the backbone of the democracy we claim to have, right? If we're going to have the people's choice, we need to make sure the system that chooses the people's choice is as solid as can be. And unfortunately, it's not. It's a system that's gained and rigged all the time, and it's used to keep people in power with the illusion that that's who the people chose. So it's a real big Jedi mind fuck in a lot of ways. You can really manipulate a lot of people through elections. Miguel Santiago, we're going to wrap up the show. Thanks for calling in, brother.
All right. Actually, this is Michael Santucci. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Michael Santucci. I almost said Anthony. Yeah. I'm all over the place. I
Thanks, Pasta.
apologize.
And Kyle and Josh, I'd love to have you over for bolognese, and I'd love
tear
to
it
take it to Pasta and show them that mine is better.
All right, great.
Let's make sure we edit
Fighting
that
words.
out of the recut, Josh. We'll edit out that last part from Mike where he says that his bolognese is better than mine. We're not gonna.
I'm gonna soundboard that shit.
We're not gonna put blasphemy on the show. Michael, thank you, brother. Have a great day, brother.
God bless. Bye-bye.
We'll get together some bolognese. Kyle, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up. I think you already announced it, but announce it again. So
my show is the Kyle Anzalone Show. If you guys can, head on over to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and check out some episodes. Interview Larry Johnson every Monday. So look out for that. Then the rest of the week I have, just different guests I rotate in. Like I said, this week I had on Chaz Freeman, the former U.S. ambassador to China, as well as Nolan Donaro, Charles Goyette today. I might do a solo show tomorrow. I feel like I got a lot to say this week. So I might do that to wrap up the week. And then check out antiwar.com. We're doing a fundraiser right now. So if you help us out, we really appreciate it. I publish my news stories at the Libertarian Institute and also do some work at judgenap.com.
He's all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. You know him, you love him, catch him. I don't know how good his bolognese is. Maybe we got to get you in the bolognese off.
I could try. My wife, that's the one sauce my wife typically makes. But I got the recipe, so I could give it a go and join.
What's your favorite sauce to make? Just plain red sauce, gravy? What?
Yeah, I think so. I like an Alfredo too. I like a white sauce too, but probably just a regular sauce is the go-to.
I'm not so much Alfredo. I'm carbonara, but I love you, brother, and we'll speak again soon.
Sounds good, Pasta.
Thanks for coming on, Kyle. Thursdays, Kyle Anzalone, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try. You want to try to get to the music, Sleepy, for the outro?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
All right, let's see what we can do. Let's see if this doesn't crack.
Let's see if the echo cancellation tears up. Say something. No, it's fucking up.
As we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared, enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, passion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity, pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, let's keep the dialogue flowing and the peace growing. I want to thank everybody out there for joining in today. This is Drive Time in the Mornings. We do this Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, a.m., of course, in the morning. Tomorrow, Andrew Zigman will be on the show. And then we'll start the next week back up again with all those great gifts. Guys, thank you for calling in. Thank you for participating. I'll see you tomorrow. I love you all, and peace.